KoitCast.
Today's guest is a dream expert, an inspirational speaker, an international best-selling author, radio show host, and hypnotherapist. She's graced many a TV show, from Rikki Lake through to the Dr. Oz show, and even Coast to Coast AM. A massive Koit welcome to Kelly Sullivan Walden. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to KoitCast.
Hello, KoitCast. And hello,
It's great
Koit.
to have you here, by the way. Really appreciate you coming on. Much appreciated for your attendance. I suppose the first question will be, in your own words, who are you? What do you do? Where do you come from? All that good stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, just that. Okay, let me see. So I am Dr. Dream, Kelly Sullivan Walden, as you know. And I guess when it comes to like how did I get here from the dream space, I'll just say that paying attention to dreams, looking at them as if they had something important to say, was something that I did as a kid. And a lot of that was due to having a partner in crime, a partner in shine, however you want to look at it. I have four sisters. My sister, she's younger than I am, a year and a half, and she and I used to always talk about dreams, and it turns out that we had tandem dreaming experiences sometimes.
Ooh.
When we'd be in the same dream at the same time, and then confirming that several times in the waking state, and just feeling like whenever we would talk about dreams, it was like we would step out of the ordinary world and into this kind of Narnia world of like, oh, what is that? Oh my God, like just the magic. And so having somebody to share that with, I think gave it extra gravitas. And that became something that it was just like a hobby, just like a fun game, like any other game a kid would play. But that was a consistent one throughout my growing up. And I noticed as I was getting older that my dreams became a little psychic, like if, and like very relational. If I suspected somebody was lying to me in my dream, I would really see that played out. Or, for example, this was like my first heartbreak when I was very young. I was 11. The guy dumped me. I was devastated, and I dreamed that night that I went chasing after him, like, please, you gotta get, like, you can't leave me. And I became a laughing stock in school. Everybody made fun of me. So I knew, okay, don't do that. So the next day at school, I was like, so cool. Like, who's that? I don't even care. And of course I did, but I felt like my dreams were helping to show me what would happen if I indulged in certain behaviors, how it would go. So I feel like that helped me because it was probably very precognitive. I mean, it was already a very dicey situation. Anyway, fast forward all the way through, my dreams had been very important to me, but there was a period of time that I sort of decidedly didn't pay attention to dreams because I was much more outer focused. It was, I was pursuing acting. I'm in Los Angeles, and I was like,
Ah.
all that glitters is more important than the inner world. And what happened within a few years, part of it was just because that was a really rough industry for a sensitive person to be in. It was just awful. But so I ended up hitting this kind of dark night of the soul where I wanted to die.
Ooh.
And I think a big part of that was because I had put all my faith, all my validation, all my reality external to myself. And I had let go of this rich inner connection that I had had for so many years. And it's as if like I didn't care about it, because it's like, who would want to belong to a club that would want a member like me? I don't know, like that Groucho, like whatever was natural for me must be bad. And whatever wasn't happening for me, that's what I wanted. So I crashed and burned. And luckily, I started to get into therapy, hypnotherapy, and I started to get my dreams back. I started to pay attention to them. I started to value them, even though the dreams that came back were, I like to say, they had fangs. They were very dark. And I think a big reason why they were so dark is because they had been suppressed for so long. And because I was so out of whack, my dreams were reflecting how off kilter I had become. But I had a therapist that said a nightmare is an unfinished dream, and you are the director of this dream. You have a say in how the dreams go. And that was, and I get the chills every time I think about it, because that sometimes you hear one little thing and it changes your
Mm.
life. So that was one of those moments that all the wheels, all everything started to turn in a different way. And I started to feel the inklings of becoming empowered truly from this inner source. And I started to learn how to work with my dreams, how to redirect them, how to become an alchemist of dreams. And then I soon after I started to teach it to other people. And then I started to write about it, and that expanded my audience. And now I've written 10 books to date, 7 oracle decks. Most of those are in the dream space. And that leads me to you.
And that is, first off, I just want to say that's amazing and amazingly rich as well. And there's a lot to grab
Thank you.
onto and talk about there. And hopefully we'll cover all of that.
Okay.
Specifically, the catalyst point is intriguing to
Yeah.
me. At that point,
Yeah.
did you 100% recognize it as, oh, there's a new path for me here? That's where I should be going down.
Um, let me see. It all I remember is that there was this little spark of empowerment. It was like, wait, I can do something about this dream. So I literally I mean, the dream that I was remembering was really, really dark. And it was, I'll tell you a little bit about it because
Yeah, go for it.
there was, so this particular dream was about a very angry man that was yelling at a baby who was crying, a baby that was just out of control crying. And I was there kind of in the middle. And the man says to me, wrap her in cellophane and put her in the silverware drawer. So only a dream, like. So I was dutiful. I did exactly what he said. I wrapped the baby in cellophane, covered her mouth, stopped her
Oh,
crying,
crikey.
and made her really tiny, pulled open the silverware drawer and put her in. And then all of a sudden I had this. So that was the dream. And then when my therapist, she said, well, you're the director, you can come back into this, you can come back, you can re-engage, you can redirect this dream. So I went back into the dream kind of from a waking meditative state. And I was like, no, to the man, like, I'm not going to do that. And I took the
Mm.
baby out and she let her wail and cry. And I was like, I'm grabbing onto her and I don't know if I can cuss on your show,
Yeah, go
but
for it.
like, get out of my way. And I rescued this baby. And so I had this experience of, wow, I felt different. I felt like everybody in the dream is me.
Mm.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm the out of control emotional baby. And I'm also the angry man part that is trying to get order, trying to get everything into where it's supposed to be. And then there's me that was complicit. There's the ego or like the Kelly that was totally complicit with shutting me down. And then I changed. I was like, no, nothing's more important than this part of me. So I felt like it was so deep and symbolic. And I felt like that was the beginning of me taking my inner life seriously, even if the outer world was saying, this is bad, cut this off. I was like, no. So I don't know if that's answering your question, but it did feel like a spark of something
Yeah.
that began a new path.
Exactly. That's what I think these important moments is, and the important part of this is that at that point you recognize it. That's what I always
Yes.
think. Oh, that's
Yes.
different.
Exactly. There was recognition. There
Mm.
was like, well, then, I mean, I think if I'm going to expand on it a little, the proof was in the pudding. I felt differently after in my waking life. There started to be more of a sense of confidence because it's just the way of it. Like if we're externally focused on trying to please everybody and trying to fit in, even if we do an okay job, we know that we're dangling by a thread. We know that at any moment the rules could change, and then we're at the effect of that. But the moment that we take care of ourselves and we put ourselves first, then there's some strength in that. So there, I started to little by little get this confidence back that I felt like the world can't take from me. I always have this image in my mind. There was a scene in a movie called Dangerous Beauty, where there's all these men in the beards, those George Washington beards. What do you call those when they're the barristers or whatever, the
Oh,
old
those the
judges?
old wigs, the old
Yes,
white wigs. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So there's a scene where there's all these men like, you're bad, and they're telling this woman she's a whore, she's a this, and she's up against all of them, and she's kind of like, thanks for sharing and have a nice day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Like,
Let it go over.
I'm so happy for you. You can have whatever thoughts about me you want. What you think about me is none of my business. So I'll be on my way. So that to me is
Yeah.
been the goal. But in the
Yeah.
past, like the former me would have been like, you have to approve of me. You have to like me or I'm going to die. And I almost did. But there's this other reality.
You know what that says ultimately is
Yeah.
find yourself, love yourself
Yeah.
before any other shit matters. I
Exactly.
wholeheartedly believe in that. You know, I'm
Exactly.
true to myself, and I have been for many, many years, even though I got loads of voices telling me, don't do this, don't do that, you're a bit weird or whatever. Tough. It's my path, and that's it.
I love that you use the word weird.
Mm.
And I love that word. I found not that long ago that weird is Old English spelled Wyrrd, and it
Yes.
used to mean one who stands in both worlds.
I knew that, but forgot it. I have heard that fact before, but
Isn't that
you just
good?
reminded me of it. Yeah, it is
Isn't
good.
it good? So
Yeah.
one who stands in just the ordinary world, to me, that is just so that's like a curse. That's death. Why bother just being in this world? And then if you're just in the other world, then well, there's problems that come with that. But to
Yeah.
be a bridge, to be somebody that can have at least a toe in both worlds, then that's magic. So weirdness is next to godliness, I think.
100%. And that's why in my emails to you, I put that I'm a 50-50 guy. Rooted in logic, i.e., this life, but strangely, I'm into everything else. There's a bigger universe there, yeah? That's what I'm after.
I like that 50-50. I'm a 50-50
Yeah, I
girl.
am a
Yeah.
50-50 person. And if you're a 50-50 gal, great on you. I want to go
Yeah.
back into some more of your rich tapestry
Yeah.
of
Oh,
beginnings, but we'll get back to that
sure.
later. First off, I
Sure.
suppose we should ground ourselves in
Yes. Yeah.
what is a dream exactly and how often do they occur?
Well, I don't know if I can exactly identify it,
You
but I'll
have to
try. I mean,
exactly
it's
do it.
it has to be exact or I'm gonna
Yes. I've
die.
got a little book here and I will read it.
So I think there's so many different ways of looking at dreams, and I answer it a little differently every time. But I'll just say, I think that dreams, in a nutshell, they are other than ordinary self. They are a way that we think when we're not constrained by logic, willpower, the ego. So it's who we are when we have access to our totality. And dreams are really it's like a gateway that opens to our psychic senses, our intuition, our our spirituality, beings and lifetimes that are beyond this one. So there's really no end to what it is. But if I'm going to try to come back to being like macro and micro,
Hmm.
like simple and then extraordinary with it, the simple thing is it's like a car wash. We get just caked throughout the day with all the crazy stuff that we're sorting through, all the data, all the social media, the news, the wildness that's going on, and our dreams help to cleanse the windshield, wash the car off. So a lot of the dream, there's many different cycles to the dreaming. Um, and much of that is just about helping us to process in some way. If we're going to break down, what does it mean to process? It means what information is important put that in a category. What information isn't important? Let's delete that. And what information can be consolidated based on the other things that we know that are important, so that when we wake up in the morning, we can actually face the day. We have kind of this fresh, clean slate to be able to get overloaded again, but
Mm.
we're able to be sane. So this is why there's been research that says that we sleep in order to dream. We must dream. So we can go if we don't have a REM cycle. That's where we do our heavy dreaming, the rapid eye movement type of dreams. If we don't do that, there was a study that showed that they deprived people of their REM cycle for like 2 or 3 days, and these very normal, sane, rational people were having delusions. They showed psychotic tendencies, like they lost their grip with reality because they never got to cleanse it out. They never
Mm.
got to move that energy out. So if you're imagine the windshield just keeps getting more and more caked, you can't operate clearly. You're going
Yeah.
to get in an accident. So our dreams at the very simple basic level are helping to just keep us sane, to help us process that data. But then on a more metaphysical, bigger level, they help us to in some ways connect with our deceased loved ones. They help us to move through big fears that we have, I mean, about death or about whatever those things are. We get to have some of these dreams, like the one that I shared with you about the angry man. Working with that dream was absolutely therapeutic in ways that might have taken me months and years, maybe decades to work through in an
Mm.
ordinary therapeutic situation. It went right to the core of me and it helped me to heal. And there's people that experience multiple lifetimes, like different lives, different parallel realities. So, at the very least, our dreams are helping to keep us sane. On a much bigger level, they're helping us to move toward the next evolution of our species. That's all.
That's just literally just all. Yeah. No,
That's it.
nothing to
So,
look at
yeah,
there. Yeah. Move on. Next
move
topic.
on.
A
Next.
couple of things struck me there. I like the way you used the word access, or the phrase access the totality of yourself. Now, a lot of people won't even think of themselves as just a slither or a part of themselves, because I also am on the page that there is a bigger you out there, and that you get to see all parts of it, or the bits that we don't get to see are actually having their skills put, activated, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't know if this is exactly along the lines of what you're saying, but this is what was triggered. It's so imagine that humanity is a diamond and there's all these different facets. And in a dream, I might, just like the one I gave you the example of with the angry man, the baby, and me. I like to look at the dreams, and I borrow this from the late great Carl Jung, the father of
Mm-hmm.
psychotherapy, that everyone in the dream is an aspect of ourselves. And we could also say that we're always dreaming, even if we're having an awake-ish dream like the one we're having right now.
Mm.
So I could say there's a Koit part of me and there's a Kelly part of Koit. Like we're not separate from each other. That's an optical illusion. It's not true. We're connected. And so if you and I were fighting over something, it would be like we're shadow boxing. We're arguing about different, like a different perspective that we have from these different sides of us. Every facet of the diamond might perceive the world a little bit differently. But if we were wise, we would be curious about all the different perspectives because they're all part of us. So to get simple about it, in our dreams, to me it's fascinating to look at dreams through the lens of everyone is me, and to not just say, well, of course I dreamt about that jerk or that wonderful person because I love them or they bother me or whatever. But when I say, oh, this is the Dalai Lama part of myself, or this is the I don't know, the Hitler part of myself or whatever. I mean, the parts that like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like everyone's in here. There's not any part that's left out. And of course, there's some that are more pronounced than others, but healing happens when I look at it all as it's happening within me. And then I can transfer that externally in the waking world as well. There's a lot more power that I feel I have when I feel like it's all happening in me. I mean, that might sound narcissistic, but I feel like it also is the only healing perspective that makes any sense to me.
Doesn't sound narcissistic to me. It sounds like you're just using all that you have available. Why not? You know, it's empowering.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's amazing there, by the way, because when you had your cup down to the right, it looked like you were just holding like a ghost glass. It
Nothing.
was amazing. Yeah, it's cool. Hey, you know when you had
We're
your
all dreaming here.
yeah, exactly. You know when you had your awakening, your first that baby man, angry man dream. Did you decipher it yourself at that point because you've been thinking about it and then you thought, ah, this is this, this, and this, or did that you come to that resolution as part of the therapy you were going through?
Over time. So this is what's interesting because I've written a couple books that are dream interpretation books, and
Hmm.
I think those are valuable. Believe me, I want everybody to buy them for sure. But but you don't have to interpret a dream in order to benefit from it. There's like, even if you have no idea what the dream is telling you, just being with the energy and looking to resolve the energy is really at the heart of where it's at. So I didn't interpret the dream until I started writing more. And I can't remember if I wrote about this one for I wrote about this for one of the books that I've written. And it was like in the uncovering it that I started to see, oh, this is the baby part of me. This is the masculine part. And then, so there, that brought a deeper level of insight and clarity that I didn't have before. So I think dreams are like Russian dolls and those nesting dolls. So there's the outer layer, and then we there's like this at the center of it, there's the big aha, but there's all these little ahas along the way. And we could work, you could, if you have a dream that you want to share with me, I'd love to talk to you about it. But we could, just in talking about any dream, there's usually insights, but we could talk about one dream for the rest of our lives and never get to the bottom of it. In fact, we would just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper, like find our way to the center of the universe and then
Mm,
beyond. And I've done that with some people that we've been working one dream forever, and it just keeps revealing more treasures. So dreams are just so packed. It's like that nesting doll, just
yeah,
there. You can just keep going. It's like a
very, very
portal.
rich. Yeah. Now
Dreams are portals.
I do have one of those. There's a recurring dream that I'll talk to you about later in that
Let's hear.
section, where I say, or I'll show you how, not show you, but I will tell you how I deciphered that one
Yeah.
for myself,
Oh,
weirdly enough. But that
wonderful.
was
Great.
over a period of time as well. So it makes
Okay.
sense. Does
Okay.
everyone dream?
Everyone dreams. It's clinically proven. Everyone dreams between 3 and 9 dreams every night. It depends on how long you sleep, but we could say that everyone has big dreams every night. And the only exceptions to those rules would be if you are really heavily medicated, but it also, I still think my theory is that you're still dreaming, you just can't access them. Um, but I think we all dream. If we're sane at all, that means we're dreaming. If we are
Mm.
not, if we're bouncing off the walls every day, then we might have some problem with our dreams. And that might be a good place to even start with, how do you get a better night's sleep? And how do you start, like, getting the dreams back online? But mostly it's just a function of being human. We all dream. The issue isn't whether or not we dream, it's whether or not we remember them. Most adults don't have great dream recall, but it can be learned.
And I will touch on that in 1 second.
Sure.
I knew that you would almost say um, something like medication or that would block it. And
Yeah.
I want to raise something
Yeah.
I watched recently. I watched this program
Oh.
called Crowded Room on Apple Plus. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's
Oh,
about
no.
a guy with multiple personalities, which then made me
Oh, I
think.
love that.
Yeah, which made me
Oh.
think multiple personalities. Do they all
Yeah.
dream, or is it just
Oh.
one of the personalities would dream? Have you ever come across anything like that?
Oh, no, I not technically, not officially. Um, oh, I think that is just such an interesting, I mean, I'm just drawn a little circle around that myself. But I think
Mm.
what tends to be the dreams that we remember most are the ones that are the most emotional. And the ones that are the most emotional tend to be about an attempt to resolve conflict that exists in our waking life. So it would seem that the sub personalities or the split personalities that are the most problematic, it seems to that they would dream. And we could in some way say that if every dream, take just go back to the one that I had about the angry man and the
Hmm.
baby, those represented different parts of my personality, maybe not split but separate.
Yeah.
So the angry man is a very different archetype than a vulnerable crying baby, and very different archetype than a complicit woman that's just trying to be a people pleaser to survive.
Mm.
So vast. I mean, so different, but yet they exist all within the same person. So, I mean, if I think if our dreams could speak, they would say, I'm trying to help you become more integrated. I always like to say that we all have multiple aspects of ourselves, maybe 20, maybe 50 of them within us. And our problems in life are often because we have conflicting needs. Like, just like that dream, I have the part of me that's like, you must do it this way. Kind of like that Pink Floyd song, you must eat your meat. You can't have your pudding until
Oh,
you
that
eat
one,
your
yeah.
meat.
The wall, innit?
The
Yeah.
wall, right?
Mm.
So there's that, like, you must do this. And we could say there's the good intent is like, this is what it takes to survive. You must do this. And then there's this baby that's like, I don't know how to do that. I can't. And but the making space for those and understanding those and loving those parts of myself, it starts to create this fusion. So confusion is when all the parts are kind of running rogue, doing their own thing, trying to get their own needs met in these separate ways, kind of anarchist kind of ways. But so I think our dreams, I don't know if the different personalities are dreaming so much as maybe like every dream is about figuring out how to negotiate how everyone can get their needs met. And I think we have to keep trying and trying until we figure it out.
Mm.
um, so I think it's Carl Jung said that the goal of psychotherapy is to get all parts of ourselves marching in the same parade, playing the same piece of music. So one might be the drummer, one might be the saxophone player, one
Yeah.
might be the flautist, but we're all in sync.
Yes, that
That's the
makes
goal.
sense. A word that kept springing to mind when you were talking about that was just acceptance, which is I accept this
Mm.
part of myself. I accept this part of myself. This is part of me. This is who I am. I'm okay with that. Move forward. That's what was ringing in my
Ooh,
head.
yes. I think that's a very elegant way of putting that. I'm really into internal family systems. I don't know if you've heard of IFS,
I
but
haven't, no.
there's a few steps involved, and it very much goes along with dream work, because I think our dreams reveal the parts that are in conflict. So I think what you said, acceptance, that's a huge part of it. And it, I would say, to get a little even more detailed with it, it's to identify, just like I did with the angry man, to identify that every part has a job, has a role to play. What was the job of the angry man is to get Kelly in line so that she doesn't die, so that she fits into this world, because if she doesn't, like, there's no place for her here. So we have to look at each part as having a good intent. And, like, even if they're like killing people in the dream, of
Hmm.
course we don't want to say that's great, but we want to look at the good intent.
I know what you mean. They're all playing a part to lead you in the right direction, is what you get, is what we're
Right. And
getting
we
at.
could say,
Yeah.
what's the good intent of that crying baby?
Yes.
It's to express, it's to be authentic, it's to be vulnerable, and to not let the world beat me down. Like, I refuse to stop crying. I'm gonna
Mm.
be sensitive. God damn it. So that there's a good intent to preserve the being, but everybody's got a different job to play. So accepting that they're there is the beginning. But then secondly, the next layer is to understand what is their role? What is their job? And then I would say underneath that is to be grateful for them, but then to allow this more central character that is more of the wise inner being to say, now that you've shared this with me, I'm going to take some of that work off your plate. So you separate parts don't have to work so hard. Let me do some of that. Let's do it from a more integrated place. So you can go play, you can go hang out, you can relax because mama's home. Let mama do the heavy lifting.
Yeah. And don't follow that parenting book that says put kids in a drawer, because that's not right.
Not the best
No.
with the cellophane. With
Yeah. If you're gonna
yeah,
do it, use foil. It keeps it fresher.
or poke little holes.
That's it. Yeah. So the steam can get out.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
Nightmares. You touched on nightmares
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
And my question would have been, what are they for? Now, I literally can't remember
yeah.
what you said earlier, and that's part of me, so I apologize. I got a crap memory.
No.
So can you tell me?
No, I think it's what happens when we talk about dreams. We start to go into like, woo, we
Mm.
stop being able to track it so well. And I think that's a good thing. So what are nightmares?
Yeah, nightmares,
I
and what
think
are they for?
what are they for? Well, first
Mm.
of all, I think nightmares are the unsung heroes of our subconscious minds.
Ooh, I like
I
that.
think they get a I think they get a bum rap. Most people just say, "Oh, I had a nightmare. I want to forget about that. Oh, I don't want to remember dreams anymore." But they're just bad. We just put them in the bad category and we want to let go of them. But I think they are important. They are revealing where we're out of balance, where we need to work on ourselves. So one little way of putting this is like, imagine you're driving your car and the indicator light comes up saying you're running out of oil. And the typical person that doesn't like nightmares might just get a big piece of duct tape and cover up the indicator light on the, because they just don't want to see it. Because that's
Mm.
annoying to see this like blinking light. You're like, trying to tell you something. It's trying to tell you to pull over to the side of the road and get your oil fixed. Something's out of whack. Instead of pull over to the side of the road and cover it up. So
Mm.
it's trying to tell us that there's something out of balance. I think our dreams, all of the dreams, nightmares and the more pleasurable dreams, are a feedback system. They're letting us know when we're either off track or when we're on track. So when we're off track, we'll get a nightmare letting us know you need to course correct. You need to shift something. You need to work on that relationship. You need to let go of that habit or that pattern of thinking. The positive dreams where you're going to fly or where you're winning the lottery or you have like all the most, the people that you love, they're all pursuing you. Those would be like, you're on track. That's like a reward. Like, keep doing what you're doing.
How do
So
I get that lottery
I,
one, by the way? I need that one.
I was just writing about that
Really,
actually.
really?
You know, I was. There's a woman in one of my chicken soup for the soul dreams and premonitions book, Kelly Grace Gaddis, not me, but Kelly Grace
Mm.
Gaddis, who was going out of business with her, like she had an antique store that couldn't pay the rent, and it happened to be she lived above the store, so she was having to get rid of her store and her place that she lived, like all in one fell swoop because she was broke. And she kept having these lottery dreams, and she kept going to the store to buy lottery tickets to no avail. But then the last night she was staying in her place, she was so desperate. She's like, "Okay, dreams, I need extra clarity. What store and what kind of lottery tickets? Give me some details." So that night she saw an indication of where that store was, and it was totally different than where she had been buying the tickets. And
Yeah.
then she noticed that there was a sign above the cashier in the dream that said "Lucky for Life." So the next day she went to that store and said, "Do you have lottery tickets called Lucky for Life?" And they said, "Yeah." So she bought a few of those and she won. And that meant that she gets $52,000. And I don't know what that equates to in pounds, a little over $52,000 a year for every year that she's alive.
I want that one. How can we arrange
So,
this? Come on. Fair play to her.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
so that completely changed her life. But one of the things I tell people to do, this is the new book I'm working on called Dreamifesting. And this is where whatever it is you're working on, whatever it is you want, get very specific about what you want before you go to sleep and just think about it. And then I have this 5-step process that, I'll elaborate on if you, I don't know if you have time for that, but meditate on it and then go to sleep with that on your mind as if it was already, as if it had already come true. And notice what dreams you have upon awakening, and consider that those dreams are giving you guidance about what to do or what to stop doing to get out of the way of what it would take for you to line up energetically with that thing that you want. And it might not give you exactly that thing, but it might put you in league with that, maybe, or something even better. So
Mm.
that's the nutshell of Dreamifesting.
Because I was thinking on that basis, if you give everyone the
Yeah.
key to this, they're all going to think, I want that lottery ticket. But I
Hmm.
don't think it's in everyone's life path to win the lottery, because you might come to this world to have no money. Do you know what I mean? Because you're rich in other areas, is what I'm getting at.
Exactly. Well, think about even the lottery as a metaphor. In
Mm.
some way, we've all already won the lottery. Here we are. I mean, we won the DNA lottery. We
The
we're
lottery of birth.
alive.
Mm.
The lottery of birth, that's already something. And then the fact that we have the wherewithal to watch or listen to a show like yours, it means that we've got access to a phone or a computer. Like, that's kind of winning the lottery. And the fact that we even are at liberty to think these thoughts freely and communicate without threat of imprisonment, or I mean, that's another lottery. So
Mm.
we can, in some way, we the more one of the steps in my little 5-step dreamifesting formula is the notion that fortune favors fullness. So if we want more in our lives, a step in that direction is to become so filled with gratitude for all that is already working, and it kind of lines us up. It's as if the rich get richer kind of thing. So if you're thinking, I'm just a poor little like street or orphan urchin, whatever, nobody likes me, it's then you're going to manifest more of that. But if you're like, well, wait a minute, I can breathe. I ate breakfast this morning. I have a roof over my head. I have one person I can call a friend. Oh my God, I'm so
Mm.
friggin' lucky.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, our vibration becomes more magnetic, and good things tend to find us when we're in that kind of a space.
What
And
you
it
made me
doesn't
think.
mean to
Sorry.
pretend. Go ahead, go. No,
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 what
no,
I
you
was going
go.
to say, what you made me think of then again, and I'm sorry all these things keep coming in my head and I'm
Yeah,
interspersing ideas,
I
but
want to hear them.
it makes me think
Yes.
of a sphere of your influence. And you said gratitude for everything you've got. You're so grateful for everything you've got, and your acceptance of that sphere. You are now have room to grow, and therefore your sphere gets bigger, and then you can fill up the rest of it, and then do the next layer, the next part of the onion, should we say? That's
Exactly.
what it
Oh my
is, isn't
God.
it?
I mean, I remember somebody used this metaphor once. They said, so imagine you're the parent of a child, and you take that child to go get an ice cream. And they've got their ice cream and their little scoop of ice cream. They're licking it and it falls off. But they're like, I want more, and I want two scoops. I want two. But it's like, honey, you can't even handle the one scoop. Look what you did. So show me you can handle that one scoop, and then I'll give you another scoop. And if you can handle that, maybe I'll even give you a triple scoop. But let's
Mm,
let's see that you're competent with that one scoop. I've already given you that.
yeah,
So, it's like,
that's what
let's
it
be
is.
competent with that. And then, yes, just like you said, it's like, I feel like it's a field. Fortune favors fullness. And and it doesn't mean don't, like, cry, don't be sad, don't be upset. I mean, this is the book that I've written called A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, is all about kind of this formula for how to move through the difficult things so that we can come out the other side feeling grateful. But you can't fake that. If you're really, like, if you just woke up from a nightmare, or you're in a waking life nightmare, which a lot of people are in, you can't just ignore that. That's not the way to get to a better life. I mean, there's something, you have to do some acknowledgement of the shit show that's happening. And we can, I don't know if you've got time or what the space
Oh
is like,
yeah,
but to
plenty of
talk
time.
about the ogle. So in a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. Where is it? That's the book up there.
That one,
Um,
yeah, I see it.
the art of transforming the tragic into magic. You call to mind something, and I give a many stories of examples of how to do this. But the idea is think about something that's challenging you. So whoever's watching or listening, this is the time where you could like pause the recording and really think about what is your challenge du jour. Maybe it's something that's been happening for a long time, or something that just happened. Um, so think about what is that thing? So now you go into my ogle formula. You take that thing that is troubling you, and I'll go back to that dream that I had. Let's just use that one.
Hmm.
What was trouble, you go, the O in the ogle formula is to give yourself permission to talk about what is offensive about this thing. So, what was offensive about that dream was this man was trying to put a little girl in a silverware drawer. It was about suppression of emotion, and it was violent and it was scary. So I had permission to be I permission to be offended and terrified and upset. So give yourself permission to be in the oh, it's so hard, it's so sad, it's so scary. So get all of that out. And then once you've done that, you go to the G. And the G is for what's good about this, or what might be good about this. So in the instance of that dream, what was good about it was you can't heal what you can't feel. So at least my problem was in the light of my awareness. It was no longer hiding in my blind spot. I was able to see, wow, I've got a very strong, mean, judgy part of me, and then I've got this very out of control feminine side. Like, wow, I'm in conflict. I can see that. So this is good. Now I can do something with it. I can't do anything when it's hiding. And what's good is there's a lot of power here. I've got a powerful masculine and a powerful feminine. If I was to heal this I might be a force to be reckoned with. That's good. So I can, you know, there's you start making a gratitude list, and it goes on and on. Then you move to the L. The L is for the looking glass. So this, if there's somebody in my life that's bothering me, I could say, well, how am I like that person? The looking glass is the mirror.
Hmm.
When you're looking at a dream, you ask yourself, how are these parts of myself, as I've done? How am I the angry masculine that is being very forceful? I could feel there's that part of myself. How am I the out of control baby feminine? I definitely have that as well. So owning that it's all happening in me. It's everything in life is happening. I mean, this might not be a popular thought. You might need to delete this, but
No, I won't
I'm a
delete it.
little afraid to say it. I'm a
Yes,
little
go on, go
afraid,
for it.
but there's two wars going on in the
Hmm.
world. The war in Ukraine, and then the war in the Middle East. And they are horrible. It's like beyond fathomable. And I'm sitting in a lofty perch in Los Angeles, California, where I don't have, like, I'm physically safe. So I have the wherewithal to be able to look at this from afar. But we could say that what's offensive is there's a war going on. It's out of control emotion. It's out of control. People doing harmful things to innocent people. That's offensive. Okay, the hard part is what might be good about this. There's nothing good about murder and mayhem, but at least it's out in, like, these difficult emotions are playing out. Like, we can do something with it being out here. And maybe this upset, it's kind of like this big tantrum, so that there can be movement, so that there can be, like, now it's truly on a global stage. Everybody's looking at this. Maybe now the solution can finally be revealed, because it's not hidden. There's nothing ordinary about this. So I can look at even the war. I mean, this is hard to do. And then the looking glass, the OG, the L is,
Hmm.
how is this war happening in myself? How is there some part, like, these warring parts of me that are in conflict? I'm right. No, I'm right. I mean, I've already told you about the conflict between the masculine and the baby. Like, this is these are there is a war in me. when there stops to be a war in myself, maybe there will stop being an external war, maybe. So with regards to so I hope this is making sense. I'm kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
using two metaphors, the war and also the dream. But then after we look at what's in the looking glass, even if we have to say, maybe I would never be like the Hamas, like there's no Hamas in me, but there is some part of me that may be so wounded and so short-sighted that I might cut off my own nose to spite my face. I might just in a blind rage do something so violent. I mean, I'm capable of it. We're all capable.
We all are,
Anything that
yeah.
anybody can do anywhere is within the psyche of all of us. So but for the grace of God. Okay, so that brings me to the E. The E is for elevate. This is now that I know these things, now that I've looked at what's offensive, what might be good about this, what's in the looking glass, now I'm in a position to say, how can I up my personal game? How can I raise my consciousness? How can I elevate my behavior so that I can make at least an incremental step in the right direction of my own inner healing? How can I become more embracing of the warring aspects of me? I need to listen and be curious about what this conflict is in myself. And I need to find a way to negotiate so that everybody has a right to be here. And so it just means that I always say my charge is to enlarge. I need to grow my heart big enough to make room for all of these parts. So that's what I'm left with at the end. So I don't even know where this all came from, but I mean, in terms of I don't even know what question you asked way back when, but here we go. This is one way to work with a
This is where
nightmare,
we ended
to
up.
come back to some kind of alchemy.
No, that's okay. That's a good plan, by the way, and the whole thing rings true. It makes sense to me in my head, so I'm sure it's going to make sense to a shed load of people who would listen to this.
I think it came in because I was saying something about the dreams that like we can have aspirational dreams. There's so many things that we can do to position ourselves to have this, to be grateful and to be like we were talking about expanding our gratitude.
Mm.
But I think we also have to make room for what do we do when something hurts us, when we genuinely get triggered or traumatized. We need a formula to help us work through that relatively quickly so we can come back to the gratitude. So I think that's where I was
No, it makes
talking about
sense.
what's in
No,
this.
100% makes sense. You know, dreams themselves, obviously, it's all symbology, which is the same
Uh-huh.
for any psychic phenomenon or people coming through medium wise and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned your um, dreamifestation or whatever that word was you used,
Yeah.
because you said that you use specific words to trigger the information that you need to get back from the dream. It's interesting that
Yes.
words aren't specifically laid out from that coming back to us in the conscious state.
Mm.
And why? Do you have an answer for that? You might not.
So say that. All right. So what you were saying that I've got a specific kind of
You got a specific
protocol for what I
request
do.
for the dream,
Yes.
yeah, to give you
Yes.
the
But it
information you
doesn't
need,
come
but it
back
doesn't come back
literally.
specific. It comes back in a metaphor that you
No.
then have to interpret. And do we
Correct.
know why?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
my perspective of this is that dreams speak a language that is far superior to than our ordinary English language or whatever language we speak. And that language is a language of symbols. So if you think about a symbol, like let's even just say the sun as a symbol represents life, it represents warmth, it represents things are looking sunny. We're on the sunny side of the street. There's an optimism. We could write a whole novel about this one symbol, about the sun. And yet like the words to use to describe this, I mean it's so long, but this one symbol speaks volumes and we can say it so quickly. So it's a very, I would say it's an dream symbols are an elegant system of decoding. And they don't dumb themselves down to us. Sometimes we are lucky and we do get a little printout, we do get a bumper sticker, we get a billboard, we get actual words. And I think that's rare and it's very special when we get them. But we shouldn't discount symbols because symbols are speaking to us, but they're speaking to us, they put us in a different part of our brain. So, for example, if I say to you, well, a door closed, but a window opened, you know exactly what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Like, and it would take a while to piece that out. Like, that means the ordinary thing that I was trying to pursue, that door closed, there was rejection, there was whatever. But there's this other thing that may be opening, blah, blah. But it's like if in a dream a door just closes and a window opens, it's like it puts me in this more symbolic mind space that is actually connected to more of my ability to be psychic. When I talk to people that are my psychic friends of mine that do this for a living, it's all symbols. They'll
Yes.
see a shoe will show up and they'll say, are you feeling grounded or just feeling only halfway grounded? Like, because a shoe represents something that you put on the ground. It gives you a sense of stability while you're walking. So it's a very elegant form of language. And it also, I think it comes back to our original language. We all,
Yes.
like, it goes back to our caveman days, even before we had sophisticated language, which is such a bizarre thing in and of itself that there's so many different languages all over the world. Like, what? But
Mm.
all of us speak this basic language. We all understand symbols. We just forget because we've gotten so used to all the many words that we use that we forget that we really do know how to operate by symbol. And
The symbols,
it
yeah.
I think in order to interpret it, we have to raise to a different level in our consciousness. What were you going to
You,
say?
yeah, no, you just spurred again another thought in me, and I've written it down because this is one I want to
Okay.
potentially explore. Aside from
Hmm.
this, that in that it seems to me now then that symbology is actually humans' default language, right? And
Yes.
we have
Yeah.
sidetracked ourselves into verbalizations in a way, but there's more richness in the default, and we're just not there. We're a branch going in a different direction from where we should probably be going. Hence why all
Yeah.
the dream is in symbology, psychic information's in symbology, but we're not. That's
Right.
interesting.
Well, it's as if, like, our, for example, I think all of us come from ancestors that lived close to the earth, that hunted and foraged and did all these basic things. And I think all of our ancestors, they paid attention to the weather patterns, they paid attention to dreams because they didn't have access to CNN or whatever. They didn't have access to Twitter or Instagram. They didn't. And so we think of them as being a little more barbaric, or we kind of look down on, oh, poor them. They didn't have all the sophisticated things we have. But what they did have was this internal system that is pretty amazing. And we all have that. It's just that we've discounted it because it's not high tech.
Mm.
So in some way, dreams are a very low tech way of getting underneath all of the stuff that we think is so sophisticated, and it's wonderful. I mean, we're using the internet, we're using these things to communicate, but I feel like we're doing the bridge, we're doing the 50-50. We're using technology, it's helping us have this conversation about something that's very low tech, no tech. In fact, it's this internal reality that is so rich, and we all have the ability to be psychic, we all have the ability to be shamans. We all have the ability to understand our dreams. It's just that we've kind of overcomplicated things. And this is about coming back into something that is so basic. I want to say one other thing because I
Hmm.
think this is a little scary, but maybe a lot scary, but I think there's hope around the edge. So there was a friend of mine who passed away a couple years ago, Eugene Kavalenko, and there was a movie that came out years ago inspired by him, and George Clooney sort of played him. It was the movie called Men Who Stare at Goats.
Hmm.
Did you see that
I have
movie?
seen it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Remote
So
viewers, is that
about
the one?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And kind of the psychic, the practical use of psychic phenomenon and this like telepathy and all of these things that we put in the woo-woo category, but they're using it for the military. So Eugene was one of these people that is incredibly psychic and an incredible dreamer. I met him at a dream conference by accident and we just kind of locked in, and I'm so grateful I got to meet him. But he worked for NASA. He worked for all these big companies and including the government. And as a remote viewer, he was saying that like hmm, he was saying that a lot of the things that people are afraid of are true. Like we can be manipulated online. We can be like, we know how we can have a conversation about flannel shirts, and then all of a sudden we start getting ads for flannel shirts. We're like, wait, how did they hear? We were just talking. Wait, what? Who? How? What? And I don't want to be all conspiracy theory freaky about this, but he was saying we like the world we are moving into is becoming it is pretty scary in terms of our ability to hold on to ourselves in the midst of a sea of so much influence. But he was
Mm.
saying the only way to get through it is we must become enlightened. We have to take every opportunity we can to grow our consciousness separate from our technology, separate from leaning so heavily on it. We have to have some time where we do the 50-50. I think that's a perfect way of coming back. Like, yes, be in the world. Yes, use our computers. Yes, do use the internet, but then spend some time that is completely unplugged and unplugged from the outer world, but plugged into our inner world, where we pay attention to these symbols that come through, because this is coming from our own access point, our own source that is beyond this world, and that will be our saving grace. So these low tech skills that we can develop, I think dreams are a really easy way to do it, because we have a dream, we have at least one dream that we can remember every day, some little glimmer of it. And by paying attention to that, it's as if we're strengthening the bridge from our human waking self to our unconscious dreaming self. That, and I think that's like our saving grace. So I don't mean to add fear to the equation, but I feel like it doesn't hurt
Well, it's
to
there. It's
build
there.
that
So
bridge.
you might as well acknowledge it and bring it up. Um,
Yeah.
on the technology side of things, by the way, quickly on this one, I think that yes, it's sending us in a slightly wrong path because we should be exploring the inner because there's more richness there and you can grow more
Mm-hmm.
there, literally grow
Mm-hmm.
more there. But I
Yeah.
think what our tech's allowing us to do now is that more and more podcasts, video casts, all these things are coming online, which is actually
Yes.
having the
Yes.
reverse effect. It's like winding us back because there's more people are sitting and expanding their
Yes.
minds. So I think
It's
it might go
very
the other
true.
way.
Yeah, I think this is the right use of this. Just like with
Yes.
any electricity, we can build a bridge to connect with each other, or we can create a bomb that destroys each other. The
Mm,
the thing itself isn't good or bad, right or wrong. It's how we use
how
it.
we use it,
And I
correct.
always like to, what I'm always saying is I want to have my technology without my technology having me.
Yeah,
That's the
and that is
goal.
bang on. Um, Dream interpretation. Where do you think it sits? Paranormal, psychology? Where's it sitting? Or a mixture of
It's
both?
the bridge. I think it's the bridge. Um, Dream interpretation is a way. It's to me, it feels like it's a way of um, understanding the part of us that speaks this other language. So, for example, I was just in France, and I went there not speaking very much French. I was only there for 7 weeks, but I was practicing every day, learning a little bit more French so that I could actually have some kind of communication with these other humans that otherwise I would have no connection to. So, dream interpretation, I think it's like relearning that original language that we know at a very fundamental level, and it gives us access to to intelligence that we might otherwise not have. So I think it does fit into the psychic category. It does fit into the psychological category. And I feel like it and it also fits into the paranormal as well.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there's no telling where it can go. It can be just simple problem solving so that Kelly, can feel more peaceful inside my own being. But it also, there's been dreams where, and one of the stories I tell in Chicken Soup for the Soul, I think it's Dreams and Premonitions. I have another Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and the Unexplainable, where I talk about my this we might be at the edge of our time, so I'll be. Do we have a second for me to tell this little story?
Yeah. Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So there was a young man, like in his early 20s, that ran out of gas on the freeway and was hit by a car and died. And his sister was a friend of mine, and she was going through such grief because this her brother was like the best. He was like that guy that was everybody's best friend. And she ended up wanting to come to me for grief counseling. She and her mom and her dad and the whole family basic came to me for grief counseling. And I felt like I was out of my league. Like, I'm a dream person. I don't know how to navigate people's grief, but I think working in the dream space gave me access. Anyway, the night before I met with the mother of the guy that died, I felt like I need help. Come on, dreams. You got to give me something to help this woman. And for whatever reason, that night, I can't remember any dreams at all except for this one word. And it was the word mosaic. And that meant nothing to me. I'm like, that's it? Come on,
Hmm.
dreams. I mean, what am I going to do with that? But I wrote it down, mosaic, whatever. So I have the session with this woman,
Yeah.
and she's, very distraught, very upset. She tells me, and the whole time I'm mostly just listening. And at the end of our session, she's telling me about the funeral and about how there were like hundreds of people that showed up, and so many people brought flowers and gifts and all of this. And she said, and all of that is so beautiful, but the one gift that is the most special is this mosaic that Brian, the guy that died, his best friend, made a mosaic of hundreds of pictures of Brian, all put together in little pixels that formed this
Formed his
one picture
face.
of his
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And so I said, did you say mosaic? And she said, yeah, I'm looking at it. I've been looking at it during this whole session. It was like this big poster. So I dreamt about the word mosaic. And then she's telling me this. And so I immediately know that it was Brian that was like communicating that this was an important word, even though it didn't mean anything
Mm.
to me before the session. And I got to share with her. I woke up this morning with the word mosaic. So strange. And she bursts into tears, but this time sort of happy tears. Like, this feels like a confirmation that Brian made it, that he's intact. All of his pieces are connected in this mosaic. So it felt like, oh my God, like that was, I got to be kind of a conveyor to her of hope, that there was something beyond just the physical. And then after that, I got off the phone with her, and as like a kind of whipped cream on top of the ice cream sundae, my mom calls me telling me that her and my dad are going to they're going to sell the house that they lived in forever, my childhood home, and they wanted to move to downtown Los Angeles to the arts district. And I'm like, that is freaking dangerous. You guys are old. You're gonna get robbed. This is ridiculous. Like, no, you can't. No, no, no. I put my foot down. And she said, well, we found this great place called the Mosaic. And she goes on to tell me, I'm like,
Mm.
did you say mosaic?
Two meanings.
Fine. You have my support. I just knew, like,
Yeah.
this will
Yeah.
be good for them. So that was all from a dream. And if we unpacked that at all, we could say that that dream was it psychic, maybe, but it was something from the world that was beyond my logic, beyond anything I could have prepared for to have this session. And it was wisdom in the communicating of it that was like a healing balm to this woman. And
Yeah.
then it was also an additional healing for me to, or wisdom for me to help be a good daughter, to help my parents navigate this new chapter in their lives. Whereas my logical mind would have said, no, you can't do
Mm.
this. I will protest. I will not support this.
That's it. And it may have gone the other way, mightn't it? They might have said, okay, then we'll take your path.
And it
Mm.
ended up being such a good move for them. It was
Yeah.
so good for them. They lost weight. They went to museums every day. It was just like, so I think dreams are our own intelligence. It just knows more than we do, more than, like, as smart as we think we are. We are dense.
Yeah, not
We
in the literal
are,
dense term. I ain't wearing my
we're just
decaf.
like,
I know what you
we're
mean though.
dense. Exactly. It's like we're just so limited, but we have access to this other part of ourselves that is unlimited, and it's feeding us wisdom every night. There's some dream that, and even just a little piece of a dream that we remember in our waking life will, it just makes us smarter so that we can be better navigators of these wild and beautiful lives that we have.
Okay, so let's hit some
Awesome.
common dreams and their meanings. Um,
Great. Great.
I'm going to hit just a couple of these and we'll try and be as fast as we can. So let's hit
Yes,
with
rapid fire.
nudity. Let's go with nudity. That's always a classic.
Nudity. So this is a metaphor. This is a symbol of being transparent. Maybe so the good side, bad side. The fear-based side of it is like, oh my God, what if I exposed myself? Maybe I said too much. Oh, maybe I'm not prepared. And on the upside of it is, if you're feeling good in these dreams, then maybe it means that you are feeling in such self-acceptance that you have nothing to hide. Clothes are a metaphor of the roles that we play. So nudity is kind of like, I'm just being myself. And I'm either happy about that or I'm terrified. Usually it's a scary dream. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
That just tells us we have a little bit of work to do to heal the parts of ourselves that think we have something to hide.
Yeah. I haven't had a nude dream for a long, long time, so I'm okay with that one. What about chased by animals?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Tigers and
So if
lions
everyone,
specifically.
ooh, tigers and lions. So I think from that perspective that everyone and everything in the dream is an aspect of ourselves, an animal is the non-domesticated part of ourself. In some way, kind of like that crying baby. It's the part of us that is just like, rah, I don't care what everybody thinks. I'm hungry. I need whatever. It's like it's primal and it's a valid part of us. The reason why they come chasing us is often because we've sublimated them. We've put them in the closet. Like, you, tiger, lion, part of my power, you're not going to win me any points with my friends or at work. So you need to chill your jets, get in the closet. Whatever we suppress must express. And the more we run from it, the faster it's going to chase after us. I think we're meant to. I have a new deck coming out in January called the Wild Dream Animal Oracle, because this is a phenomenon. So many people in the Western world that are so civilized are having dreams about wild animals, in particular cats, big cats chasing them, because they've cut themselves off from this very essential part of their being. And once it's accepted and integrated, I think we don't want that part to run our lives, but we want to integrate it into, and like integrate the sophisticated, cultured part of us with this wild part of us so we can be more authentic.
Fair play. And I think we did cover essentially some of that earlier. So that makes sense. All
Yeah.
right, back at school, what does that mean?
Mm. So I think these dreams are usually, they usually occur when we're feeling tested about some kind of a life lesson that we're facing.
Okay.
So I like to say that I've never met a slacker that has anxiety dreams about being back in school. It's usually people that really care about making the grade, getting it right. And so we dream about not getting it right, or not knowing where our classroom is, or not knowing that we had a test, being unprepared. so that when we wake up, we can ask ourselves, okay, what is it that I need to prepare for? What is my current test? What am I currently learning in the school of life? And how can I better prepare myself so that I'll ace it? So I think these are actually really good dreams to just help us get more prepared for what we're facing in our lives.
Cool. Now let's move into recurring dreams shenanigans.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, if looking at dream is telling us a message, it's guiding us in a direction to solve a puzzle about ourselves. Yeah. Here's a
Mhm.
recurring dream I used to have, which is,
Oh, let's hear it.
yeah, it's horrible. I used to hate this one. It's a heavy leg dream.
Heavy
Heavy
leg.
leg.
Okay, tell
So
me.
I would be walking,
Okay.
but it's so much effort just to lift one leg up and put it down, yeah, really
Oh,
badly. And then you'd have to do the next one. So it took you ages to get anywhere, but you felt every
oh,
step like it was like such a heavy weight to lift the leg to move. And I had that for years,
oh.
right? And I didn't
Okay.
understand why I was getting it. And it felt so super real at the time, like that was reality and this waking life was the dream, right? And then
Oh.
later on, when I changed career path, um, and I got out of the insurance role I was doing, those dreams disappeared, right? And I didn't think about it for
Oh.
about another decade or so. And then looking back at it when I was in the right mindset, I thought I just melt. I wasn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? I was on the
Oh.
wrong path. I couldn't progress. And that's what I solved it to be. Have you ever heard of that before?
Oh.
Heavy legs.
Oh, 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 yes, yes. Like
You
kind
have?
of
Oh, good.
in some way moving through quicksand or trying to do something that everything's just really heavy and really slow.
Yeah.
I love the way that you unpacked this. And I would say it wasn't that you were going nowhere. It's just that you were like I think we're always progressing. But there's the difference. If we're on track with our maybe highest destiny, then there's going to be more of a whoosh, kind of like
Yeah.
a more flow. And when we're doing something based on our conditioning, our shoulds, then it's going to be painstaking and slow, but you're still making progress. Like you'd still like we can't screw up. We can't go completely off track. Even if we go off track, we learn something. But I love what you did. I love that you noticed that this dream was an indicator of you being not on your best path, not taking steps in the
Yes.
direction,
That's
like
it.
not
Exactly
being
it.
able to run, not being able to like be like you know fleet-footed. So that is a wonderful use of that dream. And anything that is recurring, to from my perspective, it represents importance. The more often it recurs, the more it's trying to speak, it's trying to get your attention. And also it might show up in at times that are important to pay attention. Like for example, you're on a different path now. So what would happen if you had this dream again? You might say, well, maybe it's time to get a leg up on another like the next step in my
Mm.
journey. What if it's a little bit different because we're always progressing? So there's something that I love that dream. I'm so glad that you shared that. So have you had it since you've
I
made this
never
change?
liked that dream. I'm glad you love it because I
Of
never did.
course not.
Hated the bloody thing.
Uh,
I know I haven't had it since, and so that's why it was validation to me that since I moved that job, it was the word you used earlier was should. We should do things, and now
mhm.
I should get a
Yeah.
job at that stage, but it wasn't in any arena that I would have wanted to go into. I just did it because my mum said you have to have a job to pay into the house. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Of course,
Out of
which
that,
makes perfect sense.
gone.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like my angry man saying, shove her into the silverware drawer. Like it makes like this is a nice little compartment to put yourself. And I mean, I think we come into this world as these wild and free beings, and then we get domesticated. We learn all the rules, and we become a good boy or a good girl, and we learn how to fit into the little slot, or we can do that, and and there's some survival needs that kind of checks off. But if we get into the place where we're like, but I think I came here for something more. I'm not, this isn't really moving my spirit forward. It's risky to step off that path that you stepped off. I mean, most people don't because it is way too scary. But when you do, there's often a reward the reward for you is, oh my God, I no longer have those dreams. I feel a lot lighter. For me, I don't feel like I have this as much of a conflict between my rule, man, you must eat your meat, you have to do your and the little one that's like, wah! So like finding a new way to negotiate those parts of ourselves. So I think it's great. Bravo.
Okay, two more recurring dreams, and I
Yes.
don't know why,
Yes.
but they always involve legs with me, so that's a bit weird. Um,
Okay.
Levitating at below the knee. So imagine standing up, but your leg, instead of being foot to the floor, that bit bends up, so your knee's in the right position, but your leg's going that way, and then you just float along. Ever heard of that before?
Oh, not exactly. No. I love that though. So this feels, I mean, often everybody has, if we really look at it, we have our own little book of symbols that will tend to recur for us. Like some people are always being chased by something or always figuring out how to fly or whatever. With you, it's the leg. So to me, if it were my dream, I would think this is a step in the right direction because there's more levity, there's lightness. I don't have to take each painstaking step. I can lift up my knee or lift my the back part of my calf, and then I can move without even having to touch the ground. This is similar to floating or flying, which is, I think, kind of a reward dream. So what does it feel like for you? How does it, what, what's the energy of that for you in
I
those
haven't had
dreams?
it in a long time, but when I was having it, it felt super ace and almost like a show off. So what would happen around the time, right, would be this. I would Somebody would say, "Oh, you can't do this, that, or the other," and then I would just go boom, and then I'd float, and then everyone be around me going, "What the shit? What's going on? How are you doing that?" And then it would be I'd be in the air for a long period of time. They'd be expecting me sort of like jump up and then fall to earth, but I'd be carrying on floating. It's weird, but and I'm
Well,
not
I'd
really a
say it's
show off,
weird.
so I you know,
It's weird in the WYRRD, in the Old
hmm,
English sense, where it's somebody who's in both worlds. And the show-offy thing, I think that's an interesting piece because you're in England, right?
hmm,
So it's not, it seems like from what I understand, it's not cool in England to show off. It's
correct,
it's like it's you're cool if you're a little self-deprecating and where you
bang
kind
on.
of keep your coolness under wraps. And so in some way this dream, I feel like there's some kind of like there's that Marianne Williamson quote about who you, what is it? Our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. So, in some way, your dream is helping you figure out how to be with your superpower, your ability to. I mean, it's a metaphor to not have to walk every step, but to be able to float through. So that's a power. That's like a superpower. And so it's I would think this dream is showing you that you have something special. You know how to move from here to there in a very spiritual way. And it's not to show off necessarily, but to figure out, well, how do I own that I have this without hurting my social capital, because it doesn't work. Just like in the dream that I was sharing earlier about when I went chasing after the guy, don't leave me. And and I woke up saying, don't do that. That didn't work out in my dream. So maybe it doesn't work out for you to show off, but you don't want to get rid of your talent just to fit in.
Correct. I like the
So I
word
would
humble.
humble. Yeah. But the ultimate act of humility is to know that you've been made by something greater than yourself. And so you didn't give yourself your gifts. You're the recipient of these gifts. And it would be arrogant to deny your psychic gifts, your ability to levitate, your ability to float, whether actual or metaphorical.
Hmm.
So I feel like this dream is it's a step in the direction of you owning your mystical, sacred power. And I'd love to see what the progression of this dream is at some point.
I have it right now, and we'll get to this last
Okay.
recurring dream before we do the last wrap
Yes.
up
Yes.
questions. but it's
Please.
on
Yeah.
exactly the same scenario, which is floating legs.
I'm
So
flying. Right.
I would go
Okay.
imagine a stairwell in a big like tower block. Okay. Now
Okay.
you know that
Wait, what's a
the
terra block? A
a tower
stairway and a
block,
terra
sorry,
block.
in a tower block.
Oh, tower block. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a I don't know,
Okay.
skyscraper or whatever. Now you know that the
Mm-hmm.
handrail along those stairs goes down and around and around. It's like one continuous piece of metal in theory, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, what
Yes.
would happen would be I would hold the rail at the top, run and jump, but instead of landing on the third step, I would float and still holding the banister with my left hand, and I would go all the way down the banister, many, many flights. And other people around me are
Ooh.
going, they can't catch up with me because I'd be floating fast down the stairs. Do you know what I mean? That's a weird one, but I loved that dream when I had it. I haven't had it for a while,
Hmm.
but that was a recurring one.
So one thing I would do if this were my dream, and I've had similar, not exactly with the staircase, but of figuring out ways to float and fly. If I was to just give it one word, I would say this is about mastery. There's a high level of mastery being reflected in these dreams. So if the dreams could talk, they would say that feeling that you have when you're able to do that, when you're able to defy gravity and do that thing, there's probably some kind of an energy that you feel inside. Like how would you describe the energy in you when you're doing that?
I don't I can't put that into words, but all I know is I felt lush and maybe proud. Let's go with proud.
Proud. Okay, great. So proud. So proud and all that that represents. So there's a feeling of that is like a confidence booster that nothing else in this world could give you. Like I could say for hours, Koit, you're the best. You're
Oh,
amazing.
thank
You're
you.
awesome.
So
You're the
kind of you.
bomb. Oh my God. But I imagine that like even an hour of that wouldn't compare to look what I'm capable of. So there's a feeling in this dream to
Mm,
meditate on. So that feeling, your job is to make that your new normal at some point by hanging out with that feeling more and more often, almost like being in the consciousness gym where you build a muscle of that memory so that that becomes an ordinary part of your playlist in your mind.
mm.
So that's and then so whenever you're doing something that scares you or intimidates you or feels, oh, that's over my head, calling in that feeling of that dream, being like, no, I got this. I've got this. Look what I can do. I'm cool. So I think dreams are also like trying to help you elevate and evolve in a pretty like rapid way.
Yeah, thank you for that one. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, I think I got a lot of thinking to do on these ones, haven't I, really?
And feeling and feeling. I
And
mean,
focus on the feeling side.
Barbara Marx Hubbard talked about quantum evolution. So this is, we could say that there's the baby step, heavy, heavy, heavy step version of evolution, and then there's the woo version
Mm,
of evolution. And we want to be in that quantum evolution. We want to be like on the edge of that. And I think you've been given an individualized set of marching orders, like hang out with that feeling, and that will put you on that edge. That anybody that's contributed greatly to this world, they live on that edge. They live on that razor's edge, so to speak, that is pushing humanity forward. And this is part of how you get there, hanging out in that energy. So it's not just this cool, weird dream, whatever, that you think about every 3 years. Think about it every day. Let it become part of the weave of your
do you
consciousness.
think if I haven't had
Feel
it
it.
for a while that I solved the puzzle internally, or do you think it's still there to work on?
Einstein had a dream when he was a teenager that he only had the dream once, where he was sledding through the Alps, broke through the sound barrier, and kind of floated into this quantum field. And he remembered that feeling and that energy, and he was able to access it just in his memory throughout his whole life. And on his deathbed, he said that that state of consciousness that he tapped into in that one dream that he had when he was 13 years old was this wavelength that was where all the answers resided that he ever used. It's where he got the theory of relativity.
Yeah.
It came from that place. So just because you don't have it anymore, you can have that dream just once. But I would say you might have already integrated it, but I would say there's probably, it sounds like, until you get a better one than that, that's the one to meditate on regularly. I mean, that one is like your version of Einstein's dream. I think we all get one of those in a lifetime. And the job is to not just disregard it because we stopped having it. But as long as there's still juice in that, then that's for you to embody.
But there is juice in it because it's remained in my head for all this time, so it's got to hold some meaning. Right, let's get to the last question, which is,
Sure.
What are you currently working on?
Oh, thank you for asking.
That's
So
okay.
my latest book is A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste: The Art of Transforming the Tragic into Magic.
That one over there.
Yep. And that one includes some dream stories that are pretty, like, I'd say sort of extraordinary dream stories. And also a lot of the stories in there are moments where I've, like, everything fell apart, but there was I was able to find the gold out of the crap. And I used my Ogle formula for that. And the audiobook it recently came out. It's my first audiobook. So I'm kind of excited. It's available on Audible or wherever people get their audiobooks.
I'll get the links in the description, so we'll have all that for you.
Great. Oh, awesome. And I'm currently working on my book on dreamifesting, using how to use the dreams to help you create the life of your dreams, to do the heavy lifting of the life that you want to live, so you can float, so you can levitate.
Yes, so you can do the levitating thing. Right, that is super lush. Now, I advise everyone who's watching and or listening to this, follow the links, buy Kelly's book. A lot of magical information. You've shared with us a shed load of that tonight. So really, really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you sharing your insights. Thank you.
Koit, you are amazing. Thank you so much for this time. And thank you for sharing your dreams with me and for your excitement and passion for this subject and all the many places that we've just traveled to. This has been absolutely joyous for me.
Has been superb. Thank you ever so much. Goodbye, everyone. To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.